Someone needs to explain how that knife made that sound, especially since it was simply being used to carve a pumpkin. I admit, it's how a serial killer would carve a pumpkin, but that sound isn't coming from that knife for any reason. Also, forget Michael Myers. Who's this crazed woman swinging this giant butcher's knife around a group of children? But the rest of the movie takes place in California, so it seems a bit dickish not to set the opening part of the film in Haddonfield. This is Marion from the original Halloween. Remember her? Yeah, me neither. But considering her one character trait is smoking cigarettes, it's kind of amazing she's not dead 20 years later. I kind of want to give Nurse Marianne a sin back, since she's actually acting smart by walking away from the house instead of into it, but she's still going to find a way to get killed, which means we have to waste a few more minutes of screen time until the inevitable, so fuck her. Wrong killer movie. We all know the hockey mask wearing villain comes from an entirely different series called Friday the 13th Mutant Ninja Turtles. Also, is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt? Here's a sin, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Hasn't anyone told you? Secondhand smoke kills.
Discount Andrew Garfield.
4946 Cypress Pond.
Why wouldn't Marion call the cops herself? Is there some strict rule in her neighbor's household to never let anyone else use the phone, even if they're calling the cops? One of the composers of this movie is Marco Beltrami, who did Scream. But the problem with letting Beltrami do any of the score is that it sounds exactly like Scream's music. Like he just gave them all the unused compositions. The director said, let's have your character eat one bite of a Halloween cookie. It'll make you look even more like Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I guess this automatic door thing didn't stop with the first film. So how did it go from fairly bright outside to darkness in like 2 minutes? Because if you tell me it's symbolism, I refuse to learn anything.
So much for the cops.
By even my most conservative estimate, and even though it went from day to night in no time, there is no way 15 minutes passed for her to give up on the cops so soon. Obvious publicity photo of Donald Pleasance on the set of an earlier Halloween film stupidly masquerading as a personal photo of the character is obvious and stupid. Why would Loomis have a file on Laurie Strode? She was never one of his patients. And considering we find out later she's changed her name and been hiding out in California for the last 20 years, how would Loomis even know where the f she was? Also, even if Michael was able to assume Dr. Loomis had info on Laurie's whereabouts, how did he find out that he could ransack Marion's house to find those files? Marion was a nobody in the first film. She drove the car that Michael would steal, but that's about it. Also, what the f has Michael Myers been doing for the past 20 years? Since these films are choosing to ignore parts 4 through 6, the last time we saw him, he was being burnt alive. So he just ran away on fire, stopped, dropped, and rolled, and then what?
Jimmy!
Like, what even compelled Michael to come over and kill the neighbors? Let's review. Michael broke into Marion's house, found a file on Laurie Strode, then camped out at the neighbor's house. He let them all live while Jimmy called the cops, waited some more, then killed the kids, and came back to Marion's house? What the f? Meanwhile, Michael's improved his standing dead people up next to doors that he somehow knows someone will open at just the right time technique. He needs to give Jonathan Silverman and Andrew McCarthy a call because they couldn't get that right for 2 movies. You know what, movie? Go yourself. Marion survived 2 encounters with this maniac. There should be a slasher movie rule that if you survive 1 film, you get a pass for the rest of the franchise. Those cops don't hear a fucking car pulling out of the driveway of the very house they're looking at.
I saw a thing on 60 Minutes on him. Spent his life tracking down that Halloween guy who butchered all those kids up in Haddonfield, right?
Michael Myers.
Thanks, random forensics guy. You've successfully updated us on the plot of every Halloween movie except for part 3. But bonus points if you can somehow sneak that exposition in. Haddonfield news. Also, Haddonfield can apparently support 2 newspapers, as this one is called Haddonfield Times. The movie can preach the H20 all day, but the title screen and every bit of advertising made this movie look like it was called Halloween Water. Wow, this is a movie newspaper article that actually appears to be about the events in the film. Let's go ahead and take away one. Oh, wait, no, we're on to fetus experimentation stats by the 3rd paragraph, and the article next to it is titled Midwest is Drowned in Rain, and has nothing to do with H2O, just like this movie.
I met him 15 years ago.
Fake Dr. Loomis narration. Is that a fucking police sketch of The Mask? Introducing Josh Hartnett. They wrote a separate article about Judith's headstone being stolen. Jesus, must have been a slow news day. It's not like there was a mass killer who had hacked up some teenagers the previous evening. Newspaper article somehow makes the mistake of saying the Halloween murders were in 1968 and not 1978. This movie is H2O, not H3O. Glad movie clues us in as to why we should care about October 31st. Otherwise, I might have thought it was to mourn the anniversary of Houdini's death or celebrate Mount Rushmore being completed. Horror movie victim thinks she sees previous stalker, closes her eyes, and when she opens them, he's not there anymore. Cliché.
Could have a roaming orgy.
Wait, Little Man Tate scored Jody Lynn? Michael Myers returning after a 20-year hiatus might be the second most unbelievable thing in this movie. Someone might have taught him to drive at the Institute, but doesn't appear anyone taught him how to change a flat tire. Also, this is all a setup for Michael to steal a car. I guess this was the only way to do it. How long has he been waiting in this desolate rest area? Also, this is the same car he drove from Illinois. When Michael buys gas, does he use self-service? Or does he put on a slutty Halloween outfit to get an attendant to do it? Or does he kill the whole gas station? I'd love to know. Nay, I must know. Also, Michael broke into Marion's house and stole the stuff in Laurie's Laurie's folder. So somewhere in all that, there was information where she relocated after faking her own death. Also times 3! What was the point of this scene? No one dies in it, and there was no reason for Michael's car to have to break down. There's so much padding in this movie. If they didn't add bullshit scenes like this, it would be 45 minutes tops. Man, there is so much inconsistency with the mask in this series. I can't even understand why at some point it wasn't just retired. Even if he didn't die in the fire, surely a rubber mask didn't make it, and it looks brand new.
Guess who has a fear of 102 and has to stay in bed all weekend?
But they still had you come to this f***ing gathering.
Oh, good morning, Miss Tate.
At last, Janet Leigh plays alongside her daughter in a movie that's not The Fog, which doesn't count because nobody saw that. Anyway, 2 Scream Queens together, and they're related. But hey, I see Adam Arkin in this scene. Is his dad too good for Halloween H20? Yeah, probably. Also, everyone bemoans the fact that Donald Pleasance's great career had to end with Halloween 6, but no one seems to mention that this was sadly Janet Leigh's last theatrical release. Talk about taking one for the family.
Leading to 2 tumultuous, round, melon breasts.
It's hard to believe, but this is literally LL Cool J's audition for Deep Blue Sea mistakenly included in H2O. Wait a minute, Deep Blue Sea? H2O? I'm beginning to notice a pattern here. Yep, that's it. Both movies suck.
We're paying the bills, aren't we?
Instead of a jump scare, which was the intent, this is more of a jump angry. Like, instead of and fright, I was like, kill all the phonies! And that can't be healthy.
No, your mom told me the next time I let you loose, I was gonna be fired.
The next time? Why weren't you fired before? This sounds like it's happened more than once.
Ronnie, don't you get your ass fired with...
No one would be able to hear Ronnie's girlfriend with the phone nowhere near anyone's ears. Damn it, Halloween movies. There are other ways to show that it's Halloween other than having kids unrealistically trick-or-treating in the middle of the day. No! These are totally some of the same kids she saw on the other side of the street running past her now. Clown girl here, clown girl there. Adam Arkin. Come on, I see more people dressed up f***ing around during the days of Halloween movies than I ever do on actual Halloween night. Also, does no one go to school in this town?
Because all the that's going on in your head is leaking out on me, and I can't take it anymore.
That would explain that haircut.
20 years. Don't you think he would have shown up by now?
Yep, looks like Laurie is as clueless about vehicles behind her as she was 20 years prior.
Psycho.
Hey, I can name other Janet Leigh movies too. There's, there's Psycho, and, that one where she, definitely Psycho, then probably something with Tony Curtis, I'm guessing, and I'll think of it. Oh yeah, The Manchurian Candidate, Touch of Evil, and Bye Bye Birdie. Whew. Since we know that Michael isn't on the grounds yet, this attempt to be scary serves zero purpose. Where the f*** did John get the flowers? Those are clearly store-bought, and the only thing they had time to get while in town was the stolen booze. 20 years have passed and nothing's changed. Michael always finds a way to be noticed at school by one of the main characters from her seat in the back of the classroom.
Do you have any thoughts on Victor and Elizabeth?
Or any thoughts on that f***ing guy in a creepy mask you just saw out the window? Might be a good idea to bring that shit up.
It was about redemption. It was his fate.
Jesus. Even the exact same classroom talk about fate that Laurie was talking about in the original happens 20 years later. But wouldn't this parallel be better served with the Josh Hartnett character, since that would tie into the family dynamic?
Just changed your mind about Yosemite.
So now you're going?
I wouldn't say that.
But how exactly would he get away with this? As overprotective as Laurie is, she's not going to be at the buses to see him off, and crazily enough, that's exactly what happens. Just gonna add 100 sins here for the jump scares. They're clearly the dumbest jump scares ever committed to film.
Well, hey, it's Halloween. I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare.
Nice callback and all, but Laurie should immediately go buy lottery tickets, because she has a much better chance at winning the jackpot than having that exact same phrase said to her twice in her lifetime after literally being jump scared.
Miss Tate, I know it's not my place. If I could be maternal for a moment.
Yeah, this movie sucks all the balls, but this is truly a sweet moment between real-life mother and daughter, getting to act together for the last time. You had me at Miss Tate. You had me at Miss Tate. Score decides to pay homage to the Psycho theme music, as if to torture us with a much better film. And by better film, I mean that totally unnecessary remake of Psycho that came out 4 months after this movie. Also, cool homage to Psycho and all, but does this school not have a parking lot? Jesus, how long did it take these buses to get to the front gate? It was daylight when they left. Also, 28 seconds of buses driving. So earlier today, Michael stopped by the school grounds to stare into classrooms, and then decided to drive all the way the out here to wait for the buses to drive by. Like there are a million places he could have hidden that didn't require driving halfway to Yosemite.
I want to tantalize myself with your sweet nectar.
Deepest, bluest, my hat is like a shark's fin, she replied. Why is Ronnie still there? Does he have to work a 24-hour shift? I might be checking with my union rep to see if that's legal. Well, I don't know who this is. Better open up the gate. There is no way Michael could have gotten out of the car and hid in the time it took Ronnie to walk out of the office to the gate. I mean, what? Does Michael have mosquito feet or something that would prevent his footsteps from being heard? There are all sorts of leaves and all over this road. Either Michael drove this the perfect amount of time it took for the battery to go out, or he has a remote control for this 1924 Model T Ford or whatever the it is he stole at the rest stop. Why doesn't Michael kill Ronnie here? He's got the advantage, and Michael doesn't know how terrible Ronnie is at his job. To his knowledge, Ronnie is the one guy on campus with a gun, so kill him already. Also, lucky for Michael that most of the school went on that Yosemite trip. I mean, he's a badass, but he would have had a hard time taking out an entire school.
Hello?
Michael was literally just staring at the back of Ronnie's head. When could he have cut the phone lines, assuming they're not right outside that window of the guard shack? Adam Arkin. In this universe, Scream 2, the movie, exists, which means the first Scream exists, which means all the references to the Halloween universe in those two movies exist, which means a full collapse of these universes as we know them. You have got to be kidding me with these f***ing candles, guys. Are you telling me the school had this many candles lying around? Or that they bought this many? Or that they thought they needed this many? I want to know who's behind the candle cabal. Also, what f***ing kids make corn on the cob? Movie doesn't know how to teenage, right?
My name's not Carrie Tate.
She waits until they're making out to spring this news on him? Can Will not swallow or spit out whatever the f*** he's gnawing on before making out? Because if that's some kind of fetish, it's f***ing weird.
They locked him up for a long time, but he got out and he came after me.
Are you going to tell him that you had no idea he was your brother until Halloween 2? A movie that apparently exists in your universe since the Scream franchise does?
What happened to the sister? She died, right?
No, she faked her death.
It's kind of strange that H2O ignores Halloween 4 through 6 where Laurie died in a car crash, but takes that plot point to create a soap opera plot twist that she faked her death.
He sat in a sanitarium for 15 years waiting for me. And then one rainy night, he decides to go trick-or-treating.
Wait a minute, was Michael trick-or-treating that night? Then he was doing that all wrong. Why does Michael care about anniversaries and birthdays? In the first movie, he waited 15 years to kill people on Halloween. And in this one, he waited 20 for some reason, all because his nephew turned 17. This anniversary trigger is totally whack. I get that this would be a bit scary to stick your hand down a disposal, but how does he expect the switch to turn on by itself? It's as if he knows he's in a movie called Halloween H20 and he's about to be killed. Also, after all this build-up with the hand and the disposal, the fact that he doesn't get his hand chopped off is 100% a sin.
No sex games till I've eaten.
Can't the eating be part of the sex games?
Oh my god!
How the f*** does Michael know when people are going to discover the body? He sets this shit up perfect every time.
What do you think they're doing?
It kind of reeks of cheap scare, doesn't it?
Character in movie full of nothing but cheap scares criticizes a cheap scare that his friends might be trying to pull off. Did Steve Miner just tell the actors if they couldn't think of anything else to do to pretend that they were chewing on something? God, the eating in this movie. What a waste of time these last couple of minutes have been. Look, I know the story is the story and whatever happens, happens, but Sarah escaped Michael through the dumbwaiter shaft just 2 minutes ago and is now being stabbed to death. This movie could have done just about anything that was cooler with the dumbwaiter, but it chose inevitable stabbing death instead. When did Michael cut the power? The garbage disposal was working just a minute ago, and there's a light on in the room behind them. How the f*** did Michael set up this death reveal so quickly? Think about the he has to do to make this work. He needs a stepladder and a conveniently hanging light bulb wire to make this happen. Not to mention that he knew for a fact that there would be such a setup in this pantry. Also, I thought the power was out, so how exactly does this work? Also, what the f*** did he have against Sarah? Charlie just got a slice of the neck, but she really got worked over. I'm guessing he's not that big a she's all that whatever it takes fan. Michael, an incredibly efficient killer, stabs John's leg instead of anywhere that might kill him faster. How in the is John running? He just got stabbed in the leg. Damn, Molly, you wouldn't have lasted 1 day on the creek. Michael fruitlessly stabs the air from outside the gate, I guess hoping that one of these stupid kids will run towards the knife and stab themselves. Man, how f***ing great would this scene have been in a good movie?
Who was that?
My brother.
Who I just told you about earlier. Convenient, right? Life of a final girl, what can you do? Also, I know Laurie's older and accepts Michael Myers being her brother, but I sincerely doubt she'd refer to him that way. It's not like they have any real familial connection at all. It's not like they played Trouble together when they were kids. And wouldn't she disown him in some way due to, you know, the evil? Is Will seeing shit now too? Because that was clearly Michael and not Ronnie. Also, why the f*** would Ronnie be walking into the school without yelling for help or someone he knows? Guy just walked in here like a zombie. It's no wonder that Will thought he was Michael Myers, even though he could have waited a few seconds to confirm it. Also, did Eamon Arkin even hit LL Cool J once during this shooting? He was especially good at hitting the flower sconce, but I don't think one shot actually hit him. Maybe Michael would also have a solid career as a knife demonstrator. He can make butcher knives hold people up high in the air with the greatest of ease. This is yet another car won't start in a horror movie cliche that seems bullshittier than the last one you probably remember.
I want you to drive down the street to the Beckers. It's a mile down the road.
Hopefully Casey isn't too busy on the phone when you get there. How did he keep his body either prostrate or scrunched up enough to stay hidden while Lori walked through this hallway? This motherfucker must hit the gym 3 times a day. Also, this seems to say that Michael knew Lori would come back after driving away. He saw the car drive off, shrugged, went back into the school, jumped to the ceiling, and f***ing waited. Total goddamn bull. I can maybe understand Michael being able to walk without anyone hearing him, but jumping on a goddamn table without anyone hearing him? Flagpole sitta. Yeah, he's totally dead, Lori. Good thinking. In the first movie, Loomis shot him 6 times and he fell out a window, and he burned to death in Halloween 2. So this should take care of it, and you shouldn't worry at all, and you should totally disarm yourself.
He's dead. He's dead.
LL Cool J. It's like the opposite of a Deus Ex Machina. This is like a hominum ut defectum, which roughly translates to human f***ing shit up. Also, how the f*** is this asshole still alive? Dude was in a pool of his own blood, even though we never saw Adam Arkin hit him with one f***ing bullet.
I'm fine, a bullet just grazed me.
Yeah, that's why I looked totally dead and didn't wake up for 10 minutes of the movie. A f***ing graze caused that? F*** you. Even if I'm willing to overlook Michael's clear sense of dramatic timing for his resurrections, I'm not f***ing buying that he can see through a goddamn body bag to know when Lori is looking at him.
Come on.
Come on, what? Run the f*** over him multiple times. In fact, just drive the van on top of him and put it in park. Instead, Lori waits for him to get up to do this for some reason, putting herself in danger by trying to drive him off a cliff and taking the van with it. Lori survives this. Axe on the ground that was previously in the van is conveniently waiting outside for Lori so that she doesn't have to get it from the van that is now on fire. Come on. You, movie. Also, is Michael seriously playing the sympathy brother-sister card here? And even if he's smart enough to think of that, isn't he also smart enough to know it won't work? Alright, movie. Well played, and 1 sin earned back. Also, there shouldn't be any more movies after this. Wait, you say there's a Halloween Resurrection that came out 4 years later, and it stars Busta Rhymes? It stars Busta Rhymes?! This is one instance where he should have stopped saying, "Give me some more." Also, man, it would be seriously messed up if in the next film, Lori is in an insane asylum because she actually killed a paramedic and not her brother. Thank God that doesn't happen.
No. No water. No liquids.
Windows 98!
So just call me. Call and call. If you feel like you've called too many times, call once more.
Don't take drugs!
Wait for the police.
These officers, God bless them. They remind me of my days when I had to run from the police.
È molto pericoloso, signorina.
Speak it, speak it! I'm not who you think I am.
What do you think I am? Human?
Hey, Ted, where the hell's corkscrew?
Hello!
If I can change, and you can change.